Hey guys, welcome to Hip Hughes History, and today we're going to take a look, maybe in 10 or 15 minutes, at some of the golden ages or dynasties of China. So probably a lot of good vocabulary in here for you, some nuggets on the multiple choice, and maybe we'll give you a good strong paragraph to write about on the global exam at the end of the year that you're taking. By no means should this be it, but if you're cramming and you need a little bit of review, Mr. Hughes is about to do China in about 10-15 minutes. So again, we're going to call this Dynastic China, or the Dynasties of China. So we're going to go in order, we're going to keep the vocab on the screen for you, and hopefully, like we said, we're going to make this worth your while. So I'm going to go to China, and when I come back, I will have a dynasty. China! Hey, yo, China! I found one, I found it. So we're going to start in the beginning, guys, and basically we're going to go back to about 1650 BCE. This is before the Common Era, or, you know, the year zero we would consider. So from around 1650 BC to about 1027 BCE, we have the Shang Dynasty. And there's not too much known about the Shang Dynasty. I mean, we're talking about, 3,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, a long time ago. So we do know a couple of things that are important for you to know. The Shang Dynasty had a pretty elaborate system of writing. I believe that it was called pictographs or ideographs. They had like 10,000 different characters in the ideographs expressing kind of ideas, and the pictographs kind of images of things. But little is known about this other than a really complex system of writing that's being developed that maybe only a few of the upper class of the Shang Dynasty could use. But one of the more interesting kind of things we do know about the Shang is we do know something about oracle bones. Oracle bones were used by kind of the holy people in the Shang Dynasty as a way of telling the future. And what they would do is they would write a question kind of addressed to either one of the gods or an ancestor on the bone, and then they would heat the bone up, and when the bone cracked, they would read the crack for kind of what was going to happen. So this elaborate system of writing is definitely what you want to associate with the Shang Dynasty. And again, we're talking about 1650 BCE to about 1027 BCE before we're going to usher in the Zhao Dynasty, the next dynasty ready to rock and roll. And I see the Zhao Dynasty right there, so I'm going to go grab it and bring it back and see if we can't review with you really quick as you study your brains out. Give me a Z, give me an H, give me an O, give me a U. Zhao. The Zhao Dynasty. And, you want to practice your vocab here because obviously if you're studying this from an American perspective, it might be kind of hard to hang your hat on some of the vocab you're unfamiliar with. But nevertheless, the Zhao Dynasty is the second dynasty that we're taking a look at, and we're going to nail them about 1020 BCE to about maybe 255 BCE, so about 800 years that the Zhao Dynasty is going to have an impact on China. A couple of things that you need to know. Number one, they are really the ones that are going to define what a dynastic cycle is. The idea that different dynasties come in and out of favor in China, this theory called the mandate from the heavens. And this mandate of the heavens concept is kind of this idea that the leaders of these dynasties are kind of picked by the gods, and that as long as they are doing good, the gods will kind of reward them by allowing them to flourish and keep their dynasty. It's almost kind of like in the United States and in England, we say the people are kind of the ones that keep the rulers in line. Well, in this instance, under the Zhao Dynasty, the theory is the mandate of heaven, that the gods, the goddesses, the powers to be will keep the leaders in line. And the theory was that if you were giving land to peasants, if you kept taxes low, if you built infrastructure, if you, worked on technology and the arts, that you would be rewarded. But as soon as you became corrupt and you took land and had high taxes and were greedy, that God would punish your dynasty with invasions and with earthquakes and monsoons, and that naturally another dynasty would start to occur. So just a couple of kind of the golden aspects of the Zhao Zhou Dynasty. One of them is they really mastered the idea of how to get silk out of the silkworm, which is really important for the first silk trade, the trade routes that developed with the Middle East. They also were the first ones to really put books together using bamboo. The I Ching and the Book of Songs. One is the I Ching is kind of a mystical type of book, and the I Songs is more artistic. But nevertheless, they are the kind of the first books that we see coming out, and this is during the Zhou Dynasty. Other stuff that you might need to know is probably going to be in other dynasties. So short and sweet. Mandate of Heaven, that's a big one right there. And the idea of Chinese dynastic cycles. We also have silk, we have the I Ching, we have the Song of Books, the Book of Songs. And I'm going to go get another dynasty. Here I go. Where are you? Dynasties. Hey guys, got a hand? I got a hand. It's the Han Dynasty. Boom, boom, boom. Uh-oh. The Han Dynasty is definitely going to be one of the big ones on multiple choice on your exams because it is considered to really be one of the major golden ages in Chinese history. So in terms of years, it's about a 400-year cycle, so it's a little shorter than some of the other ones, but we're talking about at the end of the Zhou Dynasty, about 200 BCE to about 220 CE in the Common Era, so that's 400 years to do the math, right around then. And we actually have a name for you now, and that would be Emperor Wudi. Emperor Wudi is considered to be kind of the one that ran the Golden Age, and we're going to talk about some of the attributes of the Golden Age of the Han Dynasty right now. One of them is they really kind of opened up the Silk Road, which was kind of started. Silk was discovered how to manufacture that under the Zhou Dynasty, but under the Han Dynasty, they really expanded that trade route, the silk trade route, to become what it's going to become, which is a major trade route with the Middle East and into some parts of Eastern Europe. So you're going to get some big-time benefits from that, not only in terms of some cultural diffusion about going out there and discovering things, but also about being able to import things back to make your life more comfortable. So the Silk Road is going to be really, really important for that. Confucianism is also kind of adopted as the Chinese religion during the Han Dynasty. And Confucianism is going to give them some stability in their society. And I guess the best way to describe that in a thematic essay would be the civil service system that kind of Confucianism led Chinese culture or political economic systems to adopt. And what a civil service system is basically kind of a way to streamline your bureaucracy by getting the most efficiency out of your government workers. So if you're going to, for instance, have something simple, what does the government provide? Mail service. If it's not done through some type of civil service system where you're hiring people that are capable and people that are kind of skill-based, if you're just hiring, whoever the, I don't know, the other guy's son's friend is, then you're going to get more bureaucracy and slower service. So the Han Dynasty is seen kind of as really perfecting the bureaucratic model in terms of how you can use a civil service system to get the best out of your government. And that Confucius-based civil service system is kind of been around for 2,000 years now in China. So it goes to show you that it's withheld the sands of time. Other stuff that you might need to know in terms of Han Dynasty, go for the big ones like scientific stuff, zoology, astronomy. They perfected kind of the clock during the Han Dynasty, botany, chemistry, major scientific kind of exploration and discovery going on for the first time really in the world. Some parts of Africa are also doing the same at the same time, but this is big for the Han Dynasty. Little things like rubber and the wheelbarrow and fishing reels, all kinds of littler things that are going to make their society more comfortable, raise the standard of living, make it easier to eat, make it easier to play, make it easier to basically live. Han artisans and architects are also well known for their carvings, their work with jade, and just generally we see scientific artistic renaissance during the Han Dynasty. So the Han Dynasty around 220 BCE, 200 BCE, somewhere in there, to about 200 I always get it messed up, Common Era CE. And again, you're looking at basically knowing that Emperor Wudi is a name you might need to know. We know the Silk Road is really, really important. We know that Confucianism and the civil service and stability and bureaucracy that provided, as well as the scientific, like I said before, and the artisan kind of stuff. So we have a few more dynasties to kind of go through on the Chinese Dynastic Review video lecture, and I'm going to go find me one right now as we truck on. Yeah, here we go. Got some Tang? After kind of hundreds of years of civil war and kind of where we don't have a centralized unified government or Chinese empire after the Han Dynasty, around 618 in the Common Era to around 907 in the Common Era, so almost 300 years, we have the Tang Dynasty. So we just want to kind of chop and tell you what's important about the Tang Dynasty. Number one, they centralized power, so they put a dynasty together. Number two, they expanded the empire into Central and Southeast Asia, places like Korea and Vietnam, demanding tribute from those places or riches to come back to China to strengthen the empire. Number three, they really kind of had a really strict social structure. They had a system that they put together, which basically had three kind of main components. One of them was the gentry. The gentry is up on top. This consisted of kind of the Confucius elders. Confucius is back in style now, as well as civil service employees and landowners and kind of the upper crust. Second, believe it or not, are the peasants. In this system of social structure, peasants were above the third country there, which would be the merchants, because merchants really didn't produce anything. So the Chinese put more kind of emphasis on the idea that it was better to produce something, and there was very little movement between these triangular three powers. And again, if you look at that again, it's the gentry or the wealthy landowners, the peasants, most of the people who own land and live in small villages, and then you have the merchants who live more along the trade routes that are trying really probably to skip the peasants and go up into the gentry power. But there you have it. Those are kind of the three main ones. You also have a development of a canal system, a law or a code system based on kind of Confucius ideals that kind of are really important. And then you have some inventions. So we're just going to give you two, because there's probably a lot, and we want to keep this short and simple because you're not going to write about a lot of inventions. But if you have a couple, you'll probably remember. So again, we're going 1,500 years ago. So these inventions, in my mind are, I don't want to say cool, or pretty wow. One of them would be around in the 9th century, in the 800s, the Tang scientists invented gunpowder, which is obviously pretty of explosive nature. That's going to give them some power to hang around for a while. And the other one, you go back to, I think, the 900s, which is like the 10th century, and Chinese Tang scientists invented the smallpox vaccine. That's not going to be used in Europe until really the 1600s, and not widespread in China for a couple hundred years. But the idea that they could invent gunpowder and vaccines that far back is pretty golden, baby. So that's the Tang Dynasty. In about a minute or two, we're going to do a couple more for you, and then we're going to cross your fingers and see if you can do well on aspects of Chinese dynastic power. I'm going to get another one for you. I'm going to learn about another dynasty. I'm going to start singing my song because it's the Song Dynasty. Uh-oh. The Song Dynasty, which is going to follow the Tang Dynasty, is around 970 Common Era to about 1279 in the Common Era. And again, we're going to kind of stick to the basics here so we can get through. The Song Dynasty is going to be smaller than the Tang Dynasty, but it's going to be a little bit more self-sufficient for the following reasons. One of them is that they are best known for rice cultivation. And being able to plant rice twice a year is going to give people enough self-sufficiency in the Song Dynasty to be able to spend time on other pursuits that are more maybe artistic or musical. So we're going to see kind of a lot of that. A lot of porcelain and calligraphy, landscape paintings, as well as infrastructure. The pagoda was a temple that was built, which was basically kind of a multi-story building with the corners of the roof that would kind of curve up, that was used as temples. So rice cultivation leading into like porcelain and the calligraphy and some of the other really cool artisan kind of things that they did. Under the Song Dynasty, they also kind of improved on what the Tang Dynasty had done before. I didn't mention this, but the Tang Dynasty created really the first kind of block way of printing, where they would basically paint on blocks and be able to quickly print. And what the Song Dynasty did to improve on that was they created a movable kind of type of printing machine. And this is important because along their trade routes, they're going to be able to bring those, and that's going to be cultural diffusion. They're going to be able to spread their ideas. So, have a song, sing a song, the Song Dynasty, rice cultivation, lots of art, the printing machine, and we move on. We move on. Alright guys, you've made it to the last dynasty. Congratulations. The Ming Dynasty, around 1368 to about 1644, is considered to kind of be the last golden dynasty in Chinese history. So we're going to take a look at some of the more important aspects of that. Well, number one, like all of these dynasties, they centralized power. The Mongols had kind of taken over China for the previous 100 years, so the Ming Dynasty was able to do that. The Ming Dynasty brings back Confucius government and traditions to China. So again, that bureaucracy that's streamlined through the civil service exams. They improved agricultural production, so they were able to sustain a larger population. Not only that, they were able to start importing kind of new world foods like sweet potatoes and corn into their diets, so they were able to expand because of that. I think 100 million Chinese were born during the last dynasty known as the Ming Dynasty. So that's going to be incredibly important. Art is always important in these Chinese dynasties, so the expansion onto paper and porcelain and being able to use different color like blue and white vases and just really magnificent art coming out of there. But I think what the Ming Dynasty probably might be best known for is what it really stopped doing, and that would be related to kind of the outside world. From 1405 to 1433, during the Ming Dynasty, we have the voyages of Zheng He. And Zheng He is kind of known, if you look at these world maps with voyagers, as one of the preeminent explorers during that time period. This is predates Columbus by 50 years. So what Zheng He was able to do was basically navigate Africa and East Asia and really even into India and Europe, really using the power of the ocean and exploring to really be able to bring China to the rest of the world, and then maybe even have China be a player in the New World. China's not a new player in the New World, right? We don't learn that. Spain is, France is, England obviously is, Portugal is, the Dutch are, but there's no Chinese. So what happened? Basically what happened was, under the Ming Dynasty, the Mings decided that it was too dangerous to let this type of expansion occur. That the fear of foreign influence, xenophobia, or the fear of foreigners, really scared the Ming Dynasty. They were very kind of nationalistic and the keeper of their own culture. So they kind of killed that off. He banned any exploring after Zheng He, and really they become an isolationistic nation. And that's really going to be their downfall, that they're not going to be able to keep up because they're not exploring and they're not expanding and they're not operating into cultural diffusion and all that good stuff. So there we have it. I'm going to come back and say them all one more time so you can pass your test, and we'll wrap up this video lecture on Chinese dynasties. So here we go, right? We're going to go, come, run through, and be done with you. Alright guys, let's finish this up with going through that list and saying that vocab one more time. Pui Pui. The Shang Dynasty. This would be your earliest dynasty. Writing inventions, ideographs, pictographs, the turtle thing. The second dynasty you have to know something about is the Zhao Dynasty. The divine right and the dynastic cycle, the mandate of heaven. Han Dynasty would be the big one in terms of golden age. So this would be astronomers and Confucianism, chemistry, the Silk Road, some really, really big ideas. The Tang Dynasty would be the next one, the strict social structure that was set up. The next one is going to be the Song Dynasty, the printable moving printable machine, rice cultivation being a really big idea, and finally the Ming Dynasty. Probably the most important thing to know about them is that they really turned inwards and stopped exploring and really became more of an isolationistic kind of country. So that's kind of China, Golden Age, or Golden Dynasties, the dynastic cycle, and hopefully that's going to give you enough to bang your way through the exam. So we hope you tune into other lectures, and we certainly hope you read and you study. Go to regentsprep.org for some multiple choice practice, and I guess that's all, folks.